You think the bread you eat every day is harmless, but the truth is many common loaves are made with refined flour, added sugar, and additives that spike your blood sugar and leave you hungry again. Soon after, in this video you will discover which breads to avoid and to better options you can actually buy for more stable energy and better health. Wonder Bread. Wonder Bread might look like a harmless childhood favorite, but nutritionally, it is one of the easiest breads to overconsume without realizing the impact. This type of bread is made primarily from refined white flour, which has had most of its fiber and nutrients removed during processing, and even though some vitamins are added back and the final product still digests very quickly, causing a rapid spike in blood sugar followed by a crash that leaves you hungry again soon after. Many versions also contain added sugar and dough conditioners to create that ultra-soft texture, which makes it easy to eat more than you need while offering very little satiety. Compared to whole grain options, the result is a loaf that is convenient and familiar but not ideal as an everyday staple, especially if your goal is stable energy, better digestion, or long-term health. Nature's Own. Nature's Own sounds like a clean, healthy choice, but the reality is more complicated. Once you look past the packaging, many of its popular varieties still rely on refined or enriched flour as a base, which means much of the natural fiber and nutrients have been removed and replaced with added ingredients. And while some versions include whole grains, others contain added sugars around 2 grams per slice and relatively low fiber in certain products, which can lead to quicker digestion and less satiety. You will also often find ingredients like soybean oil emulsifiers and dough conditioners used to improve texture and shelf life, and while these are considered safe, they are part of what makes the bread more processed compared to simpler traditional loaves. Even nutrition can vary a lot between products. For example, some slices provide only about 1 gram of fiber despite having multigrain or granola labeling, which can be misleading if you expect a more filling whole grain option. The result is a bread that looks natural and wholesome on the outside, but depending on the variety, may still behave like a typical processed loaf inside, offering convenience and taste, but not always the sustained energy or nutritional value you might expect from a truly whole grain bread. Sara Lee. Sara Lee is known for its signature softness and smooth texture, but that same quality is exactly what makes it less satisfying as an everyday choice. To achieve that light, airy consistency, many of its breads are made with refined flour and formulated to stay soft for longer, which means they break down quickly during digestion, leading to a faster rise in blood sugar and a shorter feeling of fullness compared to denser whole grain breads. Some varieties also include added sugars and oils to enhance flavor and texture, which can increase calorie intake without providing much additional nutritional value. And while the bread may taste pleasant and feel easy to eat, it often delivers less fiber and protein than you would expect from a more balanced option. What makes this important is how it affects your routine over time, because a bread that digests quickly and lacks satiety can lead to more frequent snacking and unstable energy throughout the day, making it a convenient choice, but not the most supportive one for long-term health or appetite control. Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm often gives the impression of a more premium bakery-style loaf, but the ingredient profile can tell a different story depending on the variety you choose. Many of its classic white and farmhouse breads still list enriched wheat flour as the main ingredient, which means the grain has been refined and stripped of much of its natural fiber, and even some whole grain labeled options may include a mix of refined flour alongside whole grains, rather than being fully whole grain. To maintain flavor and shelf stability, these breads can also contain added sugar, oils, and emulsifiers, which are commonly used in packaged bread, and while they are considered safe, they contribute to a more processed product that may not keep you full for long, especially if the fiber content is low. What makes Pepperidge Farm easy to overlook is the branding, because the denser texture and higher price point can make it feel like a healthier upgrade. but nutritionally it may not be very different from standard supermarket bread unless you specifically choose one of their higher fiber or truly whole grain options. Arnold bread. Arnold bread is often marketed as a wholesome whole grain choice, but the reality depends heavily on what is actually inside each slice. Many of its popular varieties do include whole wheat flour, but they also frequently contain added sugar, oils, and multiple processing ingredients, which shift the bread closer to a processed product. Rather than a simple traditional loaf, for example, ingredient lists can include sugar, soybean oil, and emulsifiers alongside whole grains. Even nutritionally, the picture is mixed, because while a slice may provide around 3 grams of fiber, it also delivers over 20 grams of carbohydrates and a few grams of added sugar, which means it can still raise blood sugar relatively quickly, especially compared to denser, less processed breads. What makes Arnold easy to misjudge is the labeling, because terms like whole grain or multigrain can create a strong health impression, but they do not always mean the product is minimally processed or high in fiber and nutrition as expected. The result is a bread that can be part of a balanced diet if chosen carefully, but in many cases is not as clean or as nutrient-dense as it appears, making it a brand you should look at closely rather than assume it is automatically a healthy option. So if most of the bread on store shelves is more processed than you thought, what should you actually buy instead? Because not all bread is the same, and in the next part I will show you to better options that are simpler, more balanced, and actually support your health instead of working against it. Dave's Killer Bread. Dave's Killer Bread stands out because it flips the typical formula of commercial bread by building the loaf around whole grains and seeds instead of refined flour as the main base. Most of its popular varieties start with organic whole wheat flour and include a mix of grains like oats, barley, and seeds such as flax and sunflower, which naturally add fiber, protein, and texture, rather than relying on additives to create softness. Nutritionally, this makes a noticeable difference, because a single slice can provide around 4 to 6 grams of protein and up to 5 grams of fiber, which helps slow digestion, support gut health, and keep you full longer compared to standard white bread. Another key point is what it leaves out, as the brand avoids high fructose corn syrup and artificial preservatives and instead uses organic ingredients and simpler preservation methods, which results in a product that is still processed but closer to a whole food approach than most packaged bread. That said, it is not perfect because some varieties still include a small amount of added sugar to support flavor and fermentation, but compared to typical supermarket bread, it offers a more balanced profile with complex carbohydrates and higher nutrient density. The result is a loaf that feels heavier, more textured, and more satisfying, not because of marketing, but because it is actually built from ingredients your body takes longer to break down, making it a smarter everyday option if you still want convenience without sacrificing too much nutritional quality. Ezekiel for $2.9. Ezekiel for $2.9 is very different from most bread you see on store shelves, because it is made from sprouted whole grains instead of traditional refined flour. The grains are allowed to sprout before baking, which naturally changes their structure, breaking down some starch and making certain nutrients easier for your body to absorb, and this process also contributes to a lower glycemic impact compared to typical white bread. Its ingredient list is simple and focused, usually including sprouted wheat, barley, lentils, millet, and beans with no added sugar and no artificial preservatives, which is why you will often find it stored in the frozen section rather than sitting on a shelf for weeks. Nutritionally, each slice provides a balance of complex carbohydrates, plant-based protein, and fiber, which helps support steadier energy levels and better satiety, especially when compared to highly processed bread made with refined flour. The texture is denser and more substantial, and the flavor is more natural and slightly nutty, which reflects the fact that it relies on the grains themselves rather than added ingredients for taste, making it a strong option if you want a more traditional, less processed approach to bread while still keeping the convenience of a packaged product. Now, you know not all bread is created equal, and a small change like this can make a real difference in your energy and overall health. If you found this helpful, make sure to follow and subscribe for more simple breakdowns like this so you can make smarter choices every day.